Hello, bonjour et bienvenue. Welcome to Nature Live. Bienvenue à Nature Vivante. We are in the Nature Live Gallery, and we have with us in our Google Hangout chat Dr. Jordan Mallon, and this is live from Southern Alberta. Alors avec nous aujourd'hui, on a Monsieur Jordan Mallon, il est notre paléobiologiste qui est en train de chercher des fossiles de dinosaures au sud d'Alberta. Jordan is really excited to share his research finds that he's been working on this summer with everyone, and he would love to answer your questions as well. So just to give us a brief overview, Jordan, where exactly are you and what have you been doing this summer?
Well, hi everyone. Thanks for sitting down and chatting with me on the other side of Canada here. I'm out in southeastern Alberta on the South Saskatchewan River, which is about an hour's drive north of Medicine Hat. So I'm digging in rocks that are of the same age as those rocks that we find a little further to the west in Dinosaur Provincial Park. So a lot of the dinosaurs that you'll see down in our gallery right now are the types of things I'm after. Last year, my crew and I found two pretty exciting finds. We found a bone bed of horned dinosaurs called Centrosaurus. Did I just cut out there?
You're loud and clear.
Okay, I saw my screen pause, so I wasn't sure if I was talking to no one. Yeah. But we found a bone bed of horned dinosaurs called Centrosaurus. So it's basically a mixture of what looks to be it's actually part of a larger bone bed system that contains tens of thousands of individuals. And in our particular pocket of this bone bed, we've got several so far. Very likely we'll have hundreds as we continue to develop it. So we're digging in that bone bed, but we've also got a big complete skull or near complete skull also of another horned dinosaur called Chasmosaurus that we're trying to dig up. And I've learned how to bring a photo of that up on the screen here.
Awesome.
I'll do that right now. So what you're looking at now is a photo of the quarry as it looked 2 days ago. You can see Margaret in pink there. That's one of my field assistants standing next to the skull, and an animal called Chasmosaurus. You can see one of those animals in the gallery when you go down into the fossil gallery. There's one as soon as you come in, the Chasmosaurus. So we've got a nice complete skull of actually a rare Chasmosaurus species called Chasmosaurus casoni, which has long horns over the eyes. So it's a rare one, which is why I'm excited to have it. And only 2 days ago, we managed to expose the whole thing. So we know that we've got the tip of the snout there. So hopefully over the coming days, should the weather cooperate, we'll be able to finish trenching around that and wrap it in a plaster jacket and bring it back to camp.
That's fantastic, John. Pour notre auditoire francophone, je veux juste cadrer. Alors, il a trouvé un crâne d'une Chasmosaure. Ça lui fait seulement 2 jours pour faire tous ces travaux-là, mais ils sont en train d'enlever tous les matériaux qui entourent ce crâne-là, et on va essayer d'enlever ça de la terre. And then you mentioned there was tens of thousands of individuals that are in this one bone, Chasmosaurus or Centrosaurus?
Centrosaurus, yeah.
Okay. And these are all the same species of dinosaur that all died in one bone bed.
Yeah, it looks to be that way. What happens is you get these different pockets of these smaller bone beds that all are exposed at the same level in the rock layer. And so we make the inference that all these individual bone beds, because they're all occurring at the same time in the rock layer, are probably represent all a single event. So if you add up, all the bones across those various bone beds in the region, you're talking about tens of thousands of individuals. And what we think has happened is that if you go back 75 million years in time, North America was divided north-south by a shallow seaway. And that seaway would have seen probably monsoonal type climate where you get heavy rains, the winds are blowing are blowing the waters inland across this low-lying floodplain, and you probably get mass die-offs due to flooding or drowning of these large herds of animals. And you see things like that today, happening in India. You obviously mass flooding on the Mississippi Delta as well. And so probably we're looking at an analogous scenario. Yeah, these monsoons are effectively causing flooding and mass drowning of these large herds of horned dinosaurs.
Alors, c'est ça, alors, traduire ça de M. Mallon. Alors, c'est ça, c'est peut-être une inondation qui a causé la mort de tous ces centres-sorts au même temps, à peu près la même période de temps. Très intéressant, qu'est-ce qu'on peut trouver et qu'est-ce qu'on peut savoir au sujet de la paléoécologie de l'environnement. So we can learn a lot about the environment, the ancient paleoecology of an environment just from studying a bone bed. We'll turn this over to the audience. Was there any questions for Jordan? Est-ce qu'on a des questions pour Jordan? We have a question right here.
I have a question.
Hi, Meg.
Hi, Jordan. So, at your camp, have you encountered any exciting, slithery wildlife?
Well, not yet this year. We had 2 rattlesnakes in camp last year that we had to deal with, and that's never fun. Thankfully, we haven't seen any snakes this year, although I can report that we had 2 field mice in our mess tent last night that we had to get rid of. And in a very humane way, we didn't kill them, we just chased them out. And we've come across some scorpions already in the Badlands, which tend to be rare, but we've been seeing them fairly frequently this year, or the last couple of years actually. So far just mice and scorpions that we've had to deal with.
Okay, mice and scorpions and dinosaurs. Pretty cool. Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you, May.
So, Jordan, last time when we were talking, the last time you mentioned an exciting plan to extract this skull by helicopter. How is that going?
Yeah, the Chasmosaur skull that we found is quite big. It's probably on the order, once we dig it up and once we jacket it with our burlap and plaster wrap, it's probably going to weigh somewhere on the order of a ton. And the Badlands where we are quite treacherous. You cannot get a truck down there. The skull is too heavy that you can't carry it out by hand. And so I'm leaning at this stage towards getting a helicopter come in and help us lift the Badlands and get it up onto prairie level where we can maybe get it onto a truck or a trailer. I'm having a hard time securing that support right now. The Canadian Forces base right across the river from us, I was hoping they'd be able to help, but they're not able to pull the resources together in the time period that I need them to. They just don't have the helicopter available at the right time. And I'm having a very hard time out here finding a helicopter available. There are helicopters that could do the lift in Calgary, but they have to fly around the Canadian Forces base to get to us, which just makes the cost prohibitive. I was hoping to get a helicopter in Medicine Hat. They're only, as I say, an hour from here. They'd be pretty cheap, but they don't have a helicopter with a hook on it that they could help us them in. So, I've just about exhausted all my options at this point, but I'm still on the lookout. I'm still making a lot of phone calls around here to see if we can make this happen. If it doesn't happen this year, we can maybe make it happen next year. Maybe if I can get enough crew together, we can drag it out by hand on a car hood or something like that. We'll see what we can do, but it's a big job. It's rare enough and exciting. It's certainly worth getting out of the ground one way or another.
Absolutely. And if a genie could answer your wish and a helicopter could arrive with the right equipment and capacity to lift that skull, what would be the destination? From there, you'd move it from the bone den. What would be the next location for that skull?
Well, as I say, if we could get a helicopter to lift it out of the Badlands, we could get it onto a trailer, or if it's big enough, we'd have to get just the right measurements, but we might be able to fit it onto the back of a pickup truck. From there, the fossil would go to the Royal Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller, which is about a 3-hour drive from here. The fossil would then be accessioned there and given a museum number, and then we could bring it back to Ottawa, probably via train or transport truck, where we could do the preparation of the specimen here. We could do the research on the specimen here. We'd effectively have it on long-term loan, so we could even display it here if we really wanted to. But ultimately, the fossils collected in Alberta by law are property of the province, unless we get special permissions in place that we can retain them. But by default, they belong to Alberta. So ultimately, the skull would be going back to Alberta. And that's how things stand right now.
The voyage of that skull, if we are able to get that out of the ground, if you and your team, then the voyage on train track would be very similar to the voyage that some of our skulls here at the museum took over 100 years ago.
Yeah, the process of digging these things up and transporting them really hasn't changed very much. You know, we still collect them with plaster and burlap as they did 100 years ago. They often haul their fossils out by horse, if they can, sometimes by truck. We can do that too, although I don't use horses very much anymore. But yeah, often what would happen would be that these skulls or these fossils in general would be loaded onto a train. They'd be packed in hay usually, loaded onto a cargo train, and sent eastward to Ottawa. And fatal in the last 100 years in that sense.
Well, you're writing walking in the same steps as history there, and that's really exciting to share your work with us, bringing it right to modern times with our Google Hangout chat live from the Badlands of Alberta.
Yeah, they didn't have Wi-Fi back then.
Pardon me? Were there any other questions for?
I was just saying they didn't have Wi-Fi back then.
Yeah, no Wi-Fi. So we're taking good advantage of the modern technology. Little question.
Do what dinosaur eat grass?
She wants to know if the dinosaur you're digging up is a meat eater or a plant eater.
Oh, that's yeah. I heard the question about eating grass. Well, the two horned dinosaurs, the Centrosaurus and the Chasmosaurus that I'm digging up, were plant eaters, and we know that by looking at their beaks and teeth. And also, we find them in big herds, as I mentioned earlier, and you don't tend to see meat eaters traveling around in big herds the way plant eaters do today. But I heard you ask if they ate grass. And we know that they didn't eat grass just because there wasn't a lot of grass around back 75 million years ago. Probably these animals were eating ferns or maybe low-growing shrubs, little saplings or small flowering plants. But definitely they were not eating grass.
That was a great question. Thank you so much. Were there any other questions from the audience? On a des questions pour Monsieur Mallon? Yeah, go for it.
What was your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, that's a good question. I get that one a lot. I'll give you my answer, and then I'll ask you what your favorite dinosaur is. So my favorite, the animal that I'm digging up right now, Chasmosaurus, one of the horned dinosaurs. I did when I did my undergraduate thesis in Ottawa, I studied that animal. So that's really the animal that sort of I came to love early on in my young career. Although I have a soft spot in my heart for a new horned dinosaur that I just got to name earlier this year called Spiclipius. And it's skull downstairs in the fossil gallery. That one will always be special to me because it's the first dinosaur that I got to name. So I think that's pretty cool. Do you have a favorite dinosaur too?
Ankylosaurus.
Pardon me?
I think it was Ankylosaurus.
Oh, Ankylosaurus. Yeah, well, that's a good one too. I approve.
Excellent. So Dr. Mallon likes your dinosaur as well. Absolutely.
They're pretty cool.
Are there any other questions that we had? Any other questions? Yeah. Well, Thanks so much once again for sharing your really important time with us. Please say hi to Margaret and Alan and Scott and the gang that's out there that's helping you with all that hard work out in the field. We'll let you get back to your work. Wish you the best of luck with the helicopter. And we're looking forward to seeing you back here at the Canadian Museum of Nature. Thank you again. Merci beaucoup. Bonne journée.
Thanks, Tara. Thanks, guys, for watching. And hopefully I'll have good news for you when I get home. I'll be home in about 2 weeks' time.
Thank you. Merci.